Evening.
How are you?
Okay, so thanks for taking the time out to talk to me. I'll let me know if I'm going on too long, but I'm figuring about 10, 15, 20 minutes. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so I want to start with what you're doing now and what we should expect when we come to see you play these days.
Um, Maud and I are doing songs that are probably not anywhere near standard band repertoire, although we do tributes to Richard and Rick, and have been doing this for a few years. I really enjoy it. I'm glad we're going to participate in a program which encourages children to care, and hopefully we can all put together a presence, um, a manner which will encourage young people to follow music, maybe a little more closely than they would have, and to correlate music with history. The various styles, the various ages have produced great popular dance music, and so we're interested in history, of course, in material or artifacts on tape or wire recorder or CD or whatever it might be, um, and so listening is a big part of our adventure over here, and I've been cataloging and researching, looking for great examples from the various um, what should we call them, eras in American popular dance music. So I would guess that one might say my specialty is uh, small horn band, let's say urban small horn band, jump, swing, blues. This is from a period beginning around 1943 and winding down around 1958 when King Curtis came in cackling and Motown came in marching, and there went the romantic swing and music. I know Arnold Shaw in his book Honkers and Shouters calls that era jump, and I think others who write and study this um, period of time would also use that term to define it, to uh, set it aside from what is called rhythm and blues today. So jump, swing, blues is urban, and from 1943 to 58, and that's so. This is the end of the war period, and that is of interest too as to how things evolved during the 40s and how popular music and radio hits came to us. And so I was growing up in the 50s and 40s and 50s, so I heard a lot of music before guitars reigned. Reigned. Is that
Rain,
good to say
rain,
that now?
rained. You say?
Reigned before guitars
Or yeah, G-N-E,
Um,
yeah, with
and,
G-N-E-D, yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
I love guitars. I'd like to have two of them in my band.
So you're talking about the this era, this swing era. How does that differ from the following, like the time when the band were playing and real popular? How is that different from the previous era?
Well, if we look at the years that the band was playing, you know, and where demands were made on us to play and project what we might call something that was entertaining and yet official. Official meaning that you knew or suspected that there were the seven deadly licks, and there are corny things in music and blues and so on, and we were able to say, well, boy, that guy played perfectly. No, no corn in that, you know. So this era was the end of the '60s, where we, from listening a lot to rhythm and blues and playing with Ronnie Hawkins and so on, and learning our craft. Um, then along came the folk singers that looked at a saxophone, and I think it was not uncommon for a folk person to call horns the plumbing, you know, the trumpets and the saxophones and the pipes and all that were very big in the 30s and 40s. So it was the era of strapping your back, or strapping a guitar on your back, and make sure you have your harmonicas in different keys and a good holder, so you and read certain authors. I believe that went on, perhaps secretly.
What do you mean, like what like certain authors, like who?
Um, oh, okay. Because everyone was a songwriter. Everyone was a songwriter. Oh, I remember talk about reading Gurdjieff, and Ouspensky, but more I think of that poets, you know, and that's something for that probably has been researched. Like, what did they read? How would you find out what they read? Well, what did um, let's say Phil Oakes? He must have read books. So I'm interested in that because in my classes, with my private students, I advocate the development of language, how they speak, and I've asked various people from all walks of life, can you give me 3 books that I could give to this young person and tell them to read bits of it now and then, and so it's very important. And if possible, if it isn't too embarrassing, read aloud. You know, very important. I have other exercises in language, that because we're all we're all songwriters, and I think everyone dreams of a pair of shoes that don't hurt. walking shoes and a backpack and a cup and going on a little expedition into another town, another place. And that's what happened in Woodstock. People would roll in with their backpack and cup and maybe a harmonica holder sticking out the top of their pack. But everybody in popular music heard the tenor melodies, say the 12-bar solos in the middle of the doo-wop groups. Everybody heard those melodies floating around. And some of those guys, like Sam Van Taylor, Clifford Scott, that played in the little solos in the middle of the doo-wop era, were very important. So I've written and transcribed several of these. There are good players, and there are players that are not quite up to the standard of the great players. And of course, if you hear a great player without researching it too much, go and listen to Clifford Scott. Clifford Scott played with Bill Doggett, and Bill Doggett's big hit was Honky Tonk. So I met Clifford and had him play with me when he was with us. And he is the crown prince of those players, the tenor players that were in big bands and left and formed little groups. And so there are a lot of little stories in there. And I met Wild Bill Davis and had him open for the band in New York City in 1987, I think it was. The great Wild Bill Davis. That's not Wild Bill Davison, the trumpet player. This is Wild Bill Davis, the finest of the swing Hammond organ players.
So that was
the So you might want to research that. And I would suggest everybody should have a look and listen to Bill Doggett's group with Billy Butler on guitar, Shep Shepard on drums, and the great Clifford Scott. He is a great player. So you were there. What was the first big record or song that impressed you when you were, say, 8, 9, 10, along that period of time?
Well, the first record I bought, well, no, actually, probably just folk stuff. My parents were really into the Weavers, and they went to the March on Washington. My dad did, and brought back "Blowin' in the Wind" by Peter, Paul, and Mary, and like some of those other folk things. I think we weren't quite ready for Dylan. We didn't really get his voice. That took me a while, probably. But I mean, his songs were always wonderful. And then as far as pop music, I was, I bought crap like Speedy Gonzales and but I was, I was 8 years old. Jeez, give me a break. But so like, were these songs that songwriters are writing in the '60s? Were they good songs or bad songs?
Well, of course, I think there was a lot of writing going on, and sure, there were people that just weren't cut out to be poet laureates or famous writers, and so we were fortunate as a group to work with a top-notch player